Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning for the most of you. Hope you're all doing well. No video today, no recorded video. Obviously, this will be a video once it's no longer live and people are watching it on the replay. But no recorded video today because I wanted to do this live about Riley Strain. Now, I talked about Riley's case a few days ago over on Michelle Walks. And right from the outset in that live stream, I said, I'm going to stick my cards right on the table and say, I think Riley's in the river. And I haven't changed my mind. There's nothing that has come out that has changed my mind. So I still think Riley is in the river. There are a few interesting developments, though. Riley hasn't been found. There's no sight nor sound of him. But his movements from the bar, from Luke Bryant's bar, where he was kicked out, his movements have been tracked, like literally step by step. So, and it leads down to the river, and then there's nothing. So, yeah, I'm seeing some very funny posts on Twitter. I'm not really sure that people are serious, but they're kind of thinking that he's been the victim of a serial killer, you know, something like a smiley face killer has got him. And the cops have said that there's no evidence that he's been murdered, and they're treating this as a missing persons inquiry. Now, obviously, those things can change based on new information, but because they've been able to track his movements via numerous surveillance videos, they absolutely know that no one followed him. No one followed him out of the bar, and no one followed him on his journey down to the river. And I'll say again what I said the other day. I think he was that intoxicated. He was in a city that he didn't know. He was completely disoriented, and he went the wrong way. Out of the bar to go back to his hotel, he should have gone left. Instead, he veered right. He's just got completely confused. Whatever led him down to the river, don't know. I think he thought he was going in the right direction for his hotel. That's what I'm thinking. But we'll go through the case. So I've got some articles, a couple of news clips, and I'm going to start with this one from the Daily Mirror from yesterday, simply because it's got a timeline in it of surveillance. So if you're completely new to the case, if this is the first piece of information that you've heard about Riley's case, this timeline will fill you in. And it's not a long timeline. You know, he wasn't out there for a long time. It was a matter of minutes. But because obviously this is a very busy city and there's tons of surveillance, they've been able to track him. So the bar that he was kicked out of, they've made a statement. They're being investigated by the relevant authority. They say, though, that their surveillance and Riley's bar tab indicate that they only served him one drink. But Riley, he was out with, right, start right from the from the very beginning. Riley was with about 50 other students from his fraternity at some kind of conference or convention, which just sounds like a piss up to me, but anyway. And they were from the University of Missouri, about 7 hours away. Riley's family come from Springfield in Missouri, and they were in Nashville, Tennessee for this convention. I know I'm not on camera, but I'm doing air quotes because it just sounded like a piss up. Anyway, they'd clearly been drinking before they got to Luke Bryant's bar. So I don't know that Luke's bar has done anything wrong, honestly. If they can prove that they only served him one drink, and if he wasn't visibly intoxicated, because, you can be fine, you can be handling your beer, and then that last drink tips you over the edge and you become a blubbering mess. So I don't know. I don't know whether there'll be any liability for the bar. Yeah, he does. He falls, bumps his head. He's staggering along at one point, holding his head. I think he's just very intoxicated and very confused. But we will start with this piece here. It's only a short piece, but it has a nice timeline in it. So the parents of a missing college student have revealed his last minutes and steps before he vanished on a trip in a bid to get the public to help find him. Riley Strain, a 22-year-old student from the University of Missouri, has now been missing for 5 days. Now, this was the 15th. What are we on now? The 17th. He's now actually been missing for a whole week. It was last Friday night that he was he went missing. And then his friends once they'd all sobered up on the Saturday and realized that Riley had not made his way back to the hotel that they thought he was going back to, then they called the police. And the 911 calls out there, I played it in the last live stream I did. There's nothing unusual about the 911 call. It was a guy who was able to give some, a good description of him and explain exactly where, I think it was a useful call. So I'm not going to play it again. All right, so been missing for now. It's in the 8th day that he's been missing. He was last seen leaving Luke Bryant's bar, Luke's 32 Bridge, around 9:40 in Tennessee after being booted for drinking too much. So again, the bar have said, they've released a statement and said that they'd only actually served him one drink. You see, this is another issue with this, trying to prove liability for a bar, because how do they know that he wasn't, they served him one drink, but he might have been drinking drinks that other people bought him. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's really difficult to pin down, any potential liability of that bar. Laughter House, thank you for joining memberships. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. No, his phone's not pinged that night since that night. No, we're going to get into that very, very shortly because we've got phone pings and everything. We've got everything. We've got surveillance. We've got the 911 call. We've got phone pings. So, is it possible they also had edibles or something in addition to alcohol? Yeah, possible. Absolutely possible. They were out partying. So, absolutely possible that it's not just alcohol that we're talking about here. But until, Luke's recovered, then they won't know, will they? They had been in another bar earlier that night, yes. Yes. And they'd probably been, consuming maybe before they went to any bars, because any student knows that it's more expensive to buy alcohol in a bar than it is to buy your own, and that he's 22, he's of legal age, so they were probably drinking before they even went out to these bars. So So he was asked to leave anyway. Now, we don't know exactly why he was asked to leave, but, you know, clearly looked too intoxicated. The bar say it isn't true. There was a story that came out that his friend wanted to leave with him and the bar staff wouldn't let that friend leave. And I don't think that's quite true. Maybe they said, if you're going to go, you know, you pay your tab or whatever. But okay. His family is in Nashville, working tirelessly with the Metro Police to find him. Riley's father, Ryan Gilbert, was told by his son's friends that he got separated from the group while getting kicked out of the bar. Mr. Gilbert told the local media he was put out of the bar by himself, and there was a time that went by that his friends weren't able to get out. So you see, it's his family that are saying that they weren't able to get out. Now, I don't think they were physically held back. Although, as I said in my live stream the other night, it's very common actually for security people in bars to, you know, if they're putting somebody out, to hold everyone else back for, you know, a couple of minutes until that person gets away. So it's possible that they were held back for a couple of minutes. But anyway, when one friend did go out to see where he was and he'd gone, so they just assumed that he'd gone back to his hotel. Okay, so we believe they were taking care of the bar tab or whatnot. By the time they got outside, he just wasn't there any longer. There's been no activity on his banking accounts. According to the Metro Police, the bar gave the surveillance footage of Riley to the police, but the authorities have not released it to the public. So the bar itself had surveillance. So I think probably the bar did the right thing. Honestly, I don't think they did anything wrong. What about the homeless man wearing his shirt? I don't know whether that's true or not. I've heard it. I don't know whether that's true or not. It's a very distinctive shirt. This is the shirt that we're talking about. So it's like an off-white, beigey colour, like side, and then the other side is like, I think it's dark brown or maybe black, and then it's got this distinctive pocket at the front. So it's a distinctive shirt. So if there was a homeless person walking about with this exact shirt on, it's unlikely that I mean, it's possible, you know, that might be just a popular shirt and a homeless person has acquired a shirt. I don't know. But it is suspicious if it's true. If it's true. Is there a history of people being drugged in this particular bar? I've got no idea. No idea. It does look like black and white, but in the 911 call, he mentioned brown. So it might be like light brown and dark brown. It's called a Garth Brooks shirt. It's not unusual. Okay, so if that type of shirt's not unusual, then if there was a person hanging around with a shirt on, it could well be that it's just a coincidence. Yeah, that's what I've just said. A1 Way Street. The bar is being investigated. I mean, obviously they have to investigate, don't they? I'm not sure they'll prove liability though. But I mean, obviously that's not what we're here to discuss. Okay, so according to the Metro Police, bar gave the surveillance footage of Riley, while authorities have not released it to the public. The family has also come up with a map of the path he took after he left the bar. So we'll look at that in a second. Since asking for the public's help, at least one unhoused individual, or is that what we call homeless people now? Unhoused individual came forward to describe a run-in with Riley. Police are trying to pinpoint the moment he disappeared and find him despite the long absence. So, 9:45, on Friday. Now, I've heard 9:30, 9:40, 9:45. I don't think it matters, honestly, because this path down to the river can be tracked like minute by minute. So, okay, so he told his Delta Chi friends he was heading back to the hotel, but he never made it. His friends called the police the next day. All right, so this is a very useful map, which is why I'm reading this article. Pumpkin Porter, thank you for the $20. Thank you, thank you. It's very kind of you. They have thoroughly checked the homeless camp, yeah. I mean, it's not a big camp. It's just people hanging out. But yeah. Okay, so this is Luke's bar, right? So his hotel, if he took a left out of his hotel, out of this bar, about, I don't know, less than half a mile down here, maybe quarter of a mile down here, turn left, is his hotel. He's just simply gone the wrong way. He's veered right, whereas he should have. If he'd have veered left, even if he'd missed, he's not gone straight left, if he'd gone up here and then turned left, he could have then doubled back and he would have been very close to his hotel. But sadly, part of this has been cut off. So Riley leaves the bar about 9:40. So he's on escape game cam at 9:43. Why was he running? Don't know, but he was on his own. So he walks down here, he's caught on a surveillance camera at 9:43. He does a right. He should have done a left, he does a right. And then he falls on the video at 9:45. So he's running. Look, drunk people have a compulsion to do stupid stuff. So he's running, he falls, and then he staggers away. All right. And then he crosses First Street and Gay Street. And then he continues to walk down Gay Street, which is the street down by the river. His last phone ping was at 9:58. Thank you, Helen, for the £10. That's very kind of you. No frills, no shenanigans, just facts and hard work. Yes, I do try. No shenanigans. Okay, and then there's a last video of Riley right here. So if we look at that on the map itself, okay, so this is First Avenue and this is Gay Street and this is the Cumberland River. Deep river, steep embankment. Now, I got the location wrong the other day. A few people came in the comments and told me because it's the intersection of First Avenue and Gay Street, but there's actually two intersections. Google took me to one, and actually I should have been at the other. So the one that I was showing people the other day was this one here, but it's actually one just down here, which is even closer to the bar. It's this one. So there's a surveillance video that captures him coming along here. I don't know which direction, and then staggering off. And I'll show it you in a minute because it's very, in my opinion, very telling. And then he heads down here, and his last, let's just have a look at this map. Yeah. The very last video of him is near this bridge. So this bridge, Woodland Bridge, does that say? Yeah. So if he fell in the river, there's nothing. After this, there's nothing. No sightings, no phone pings, nothing. So whatever drove him to jump this wall, because at this point, all this is a wall. A very small wall. Not even a wall, it's a fence. And at night, you're not going to know that there's a... Remember, he doesn't know this city. You can't just trip up and fall into the river. Listen to what I'm going to say. If you were in my live the other day, you'll know exactly what I'm going to say. He doesn't know this city. He thinks he's going the right way. Right? He's veered right. He should have veered left. So he's going to continue to go right. He sees this wall and he thinks, oh, if I hop this wall, perhaps this is a shortcut. He can't see the river from this vantage point. Can you see the river from here? No. Remember, this is dark. Now, obviously, there's street lights, but what colour does water look in the nighttime? Black, right? So if he thinks, oh, I can just skip this wall, he falls down a steep embankment and he's in the river before he even knows what on earth is going on. Whatever. I mean, we'll never know. We'll never know. He might have just tricked. I mean, look, if he tried to steady himself against this fence and tippled over, he's straight in the river. Is the shirt story genuine? I don't know. But apparently those shirts aren't unusual. So even if it is true, look at this embankment. So if you either jump the wall or are leaning on that little wall to steady yourself and you fall in, right, you're down this embankment. Look at it. Now, if you were sober, could you right yourself? Maybe. You know, you could grab onto a tree or whatever. You might be able to steady yourself. You might be able to save your fall. I don't know. But it's a decent sized embankment. And then you're straight in the river. He's in the river, guys. He's in the river. I've got shades of Nicola Bully. Is it possible someone pushed him? Yeah, of course it is. He could have been sitting on this wall here and somebody's pushed him. Could be. It could be 29, 30 miles down the river. Yeah, could. It's fairly fast flowing. They've not been able to have divers in because of the conditions. So they've literally been searching the shorelines with boats and they've used some sonar, but they've not been able to get divers in. And then if he did walk a little bit further, what have you got there? This tiny fence. Look at that. Not even a fence. Not even a fence. Not even a fence. No fence. Might be wire. So he's in the river. Whatever compelled him to turn right, he didn't realise. He's in the river. He's in the river. All right, I've got another article to show you here. So this is the Mail Online, simply because they do good pictures. This is the surveillance of him crossing First Street onto Gay Street. Loads of you will have seen. Why are you giving me an ad?
We believe Kong was the last of his kind. We were wrong. This world has more secrets than we could possibly imagine.
Gorilla Kong, the new empire. Wow.
Kong can't stop this on his own.
He won't be on his own.
We're teaming up.
You're not going to let me even click out of the ad.
The new empire. Is that a mini Kong?
I love having YouTube Premium, but right, okay. So this van leaves. Now there's a group of people. There's Riley, right there. So nobody's following him. Nobody. Right? They go that way. Those two couples there. So he stops. He's got his phone in his hand. It looks like he speaks to them. And they're just kind of walking off. I don't know whether he does that. Don't you show me the same advert twice. For God's sake. All right. So I think he's got his maps on his phone. He's trying to work out where he is, where his hotel is. He's probably shouted to those two people, oh, I'm lost. And they've like thought, oh my God, and just walked off because I don't want to deal with the drunk. And he's gone the wrong way. There's some good pictures in this, so we'll read this article as well. And there are a couple of news clips as well. And I've got a piece of information about when a body will float. I know it's a macabre topic, but I cover a lot of river cases. So this is useful information. And he's in the river. I'm as sure as I can be. I'm not quite as sure as I was with Nicola Bulley, because I haven't actually been there. Whereas, you know, when I went to where Nicola Bulley fell in the river, it was obvious. I think he was robbed and murdered by those homeless people. Well, how come one of those homeless people have come forward and said that they saw him? Why? Homeless people wouldn't need to come forward. They could just slip away and no one would even know that they'd seen him. Tend to stay away from drunk people. They're so unpredictable. Well, that's true. Like a guy on his own, 6'7". He's 6'7". I don't think he's been set on by an angry mob of homeless people, honestly. Somebody might have tried to rob him. That's quite possible. I don't think he's been murdered, though. I guess, technically, if someone pushes you off a fence and you fall in a river and die, I guess technically that is murder. Yeah, our rivers are high as well. Not as high as they were a month ago, but just the amount of rain is insane. Yeah, he is. Yeah, 6'7". His family have said 6'7". I think it's 6 foot. I think his official thing that came out from the police says 6'5", but 6'7" is what his family said. It is an intimidating presence. You know, somebody slurring the words, you know, stumbling about. How do you know that they're not just going to pull a knife on you? Do you know what I mean? I know it's a horrible thing to think, but people do tend to be very cautious when they're out, you know, just a couple of girls out on their own. They tend to be very cautious. They're saying in Apple Watch, yeah, they're not waterproof for a whole week. The waterproof, like, let's say if you wanted to go swimming or have a shower, but they're not waterproof if you wanted to submerge it in water for a week. They might be able to get some data from it. However, if it's got no connection, you see, the thing is, an Apple Watch is next to useless in terms of its functions. Yes, it will serve as a watch, but it has to be paired with a phone. So once his phone goes off, then his Apple Watch will cease to record anything useful. Even if the watch survives longer than the phone in water, which it might, it's not going to record anything useful once the phone goes off. What it will do, though, it will, because the watches record heart rate, if they're able to get into his Apple account, they should be able to get some data from his heart rate stuff, like the health app. So if they can like remotely get into his health app, it will show when he's had a spike in heart rate. Very similar to Nicola Bulley. Nicola Bulley was wearing a Fitbit, and they were able to kind of show where the spike in the heart rate was and at what time. So the spike in the heart rate would be the entry into the water. So this is mainly about the bar. So the bar's currently being investigated over claims the still missing college student may have been overserved alcohol before he disappeared. Last seen stumbling through the streets of Broadway last Friday. Okay, the investigation is underway. The Tennessee Alcoholic Beverages Commission, the TABC, said while there is no specific rules that govern escorting out drunk customers from their businesses or providing any assistance in getting someone home, state law prohibits serving alcohol to people who are visibly intoxicated. A violation is a Class A misdemeanor. The TABC has opened an investigation into the matter to see if any violations have occurred. So if the bar can provide, you know, surveillance of him walking into the bar and he's just walking in normally and he's not stumbling about like he appears to be, you know, when he leaves, and they can prove that they only served him one drink, then they can't prove liability. So it could be maybe in someone's house who doesn't have a TV. Well, why is his phone not pinged? Does that person who doesn't have a TV not have any like contact with the outside world at all? I don't believe he's in someone's house. I really don't. Apple Watch's GPS info even after the iPhone stops working if it has data service. Yeah, not all. It depends on the Apple Watch. Like I had an Apple Watch until I lost it, and mine didn't have. It was just Wi-Fi only. But yeah, if it's a watch that has separate data, then they might get GPS from it. At least until it becomes waterlogged. Or if it's sufficiently deep that they can't, it won't get a signal. Yeah, if someone pushed him in the river, like as a joke, it would be manslaughter here, I think. They'd try for murder. Prosecutors would try for murder, but I think to get away with it, it would be manslaughter. How deep is this river? It's a very deep river. I've been trying to get an actual figure for how deep the river is going through Nashville. And I've seen varying things about the deepness of the river, but it's something like it averages 90 feet. But I've not been able to ascertain what depth it is exactly in that spot. Can I show downriver? Yes, I can. I'm only going to read a little bit of this article and then I'll go back to the map. So cops made the initial suggestion that he may have been overserved. Okay, we know all the surveillance footage. Seemingly intoxicated student was wearing a two-tone black and brown shirt, so the white must have been light brown. Blue jeans, and took a tumble, then quickly got back up and continued down the street. So this is him here at 9:46, and he's there holding his head. And then this is him. Surveillance, blah, 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 blah. That's not at Gay Street, I don't think. That's the parking lot that he crossed just before he gets to that intersection. And that's where he takes a tumble. So he's running along here on his own. There's no one chasing him. He takes a tumble and then he gets up and staggers off. So there he's running. So that's the downtown smoke and vape shop on Church Street. So that's just after he left the bar. So he probably thinks, oh, I'm just going to run it back to the hotel, and then falls. He's like so confused. His family have hired a private investigator as well. The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department and the Office of Emergency Management are being frantically searching the streets as well as the Cumberland River bank. Nearby, amidst fear he may have fallen into the water. Police have also applied for a warrant to access his phone and Apple Watch data, hoping it would pinpoint his location or at least trace more of his movements. If they can get that spike, because there will be a spike, if he's fallen in the river or was pushed in the river, on entering the water, there'll be a spike in his heart rate because that water is cold, right? So it'll spike his heart rate. Like the fall will on its own. That will be the entry point, and then they can work. They can work from that point, but it could be way downstream, way downstream. So a private investigation firm hired by Riley's parents are also searching for him. His last phone location was recorded between Gay Street and James Robertson Parkway, close to the bar where he's last seen. So Chris Dingham, friend of him, reportedly found out that his missing pal had been spotted by a group of homeless individuals on the night of his disappearance. I was talking to family members currently in downtown Nashville searching, and we have found another homeless person that has acknowledged that Riley has been in that area. This now makes 2 people who have done confirmation. These are areas that the cameras had stops. We don't have any footage. Does that mean the cameras had stops? What, the cameras were stopped? I don't even know what that means. I mean, they've got plenty of footage of him. They know exactly what location he headed to. It's just where he went from there. But I think the majority of the investigation on land is gathering surveillance. And if there's absolutely no surveillance of him after that last sighting, then he's in the river. There's nowhere else he can be. Basically, the areas where his phone quit pinging. We now have visual confirmation from 2 homeless camps that Riley was in that area. Nashville PD also provided an update on Thursday regarding their progress. So they did a press conference on Thursday. I didn't live stream it or play it after the fact because they didn't really tell us anything. They were just giving an update. They explained they were still digging through tips and reassured they would bring in state and federal help if they required it. Riley's family said they're living through a nightmare ordeal as they continue to look for him. So he'd reportedly FaceTimed his mother earlier in the evening. She said he was in good spirits. I think there's 2 things that we can exclude. Firstly, that he's walked away of his own volition to start a new life, because that's ridiculous. He was due to graduate. He was, very close with his family. He'd text or call his mother every single day, a little bit of a mommy's boy. And there was no indication whatsoever that he was unhappy. So I think walking away and, getting the hell out of Dodge and starting a new life elsewhere, that's not happened. And I don't think he's harmed himself, intentionally harmed himself. I don't think those 2 things that we often, consider in missing persons cases, missing adult cases at least, I don't think those 2 are on the table. So either it's a tragic accident or there's some kind of foul play involved. What about tracking dogs? Dogs would be probably next to useless in that kind of scenario because they know where he went. They've got so much surveillance of him. They know what area he went in. So tracking him we know he's not there because there's no surveillance of him anywhere. And after a few hours in a city, that track will be next to useless anyway. There are some cadaver dogs that are good in the water, but you have to be right over the top of the person. So live scent trackers, no point. No point in being deployed in this situation. Cadaver dogs, possibly in the water, but they'd have to be right over him to be useful. Is there anything else? Okay, so they're calling him 6'6". So he's between 6'5" and 6'7", 165 pounds. Anyone with information is asked to call the police on 615-862-8600. So if you were in Nashville last Friday, which was when? The 8th, was it? Was it the 8th or the 9th? Whatever. Last Friday, and you think you saw Riley, he's very distinctive, so tall, and you saw him after the time points that they've already got, then you need to call this number ASAP. Because if you saw him before the time points, well, we know he was alive and well then. But if you saw him after 10 p.m., even if you think you saw him, call that number 615-862-8600. Thank you, Debbie, for the £5. Thank you. They use dogs to find a young fella in Loch Erne. But it was a lake. Yeah, lakes. Dogs have got better successes with lakes because like in a river, the current is continually flowing. I know there's a current in lakes, but it's, it's more stable than a river. So in a river scenario, you have to be directly above them for that dog to even have a chance. But some of them are very good at recovering people from rivers. But I don't think that's the best use of resources. Okay, so let's have a look downstream of this area. So this is in the area where he was last seen at. Let's have a look downstream. So I was told it goes west and it joins the Ohio River eventually. So it just keeps going and going and going. Now, I don't know how far they've looked down this river. But there is a dam, but it's not for many miles. I mean, it's miles and miles and miles away where there's a dam where a body might get stuck. Well, a body would get stuck. But I think it's too far away. Is that it? No. There it is. So some kind of thing here. Oh, it's not. No, not there. That's just a buildup of silt, something. But anyway, it's miles and miles and miles away. So Riley's dad was on Chronicles of Olivia. Well, I can't play it. She'll copyright strike because apparently she does. All right, let's listen to this news clip here. And then I'm going to show you some depressing statistics about water deaths. So this is 4 minutes. This is from WKRN. This is from yesterday, and then I've got one from a couple of hours ago, like the latest one. Let's play this.
Start with that breaking
Oops.
news alert. The last Broadway bar a missing college student visited is providing detailed new information about what happened in those moments leading up to his disappearance. 22-year-old Riley Strain disappeared while visiting here from Missouri 1 week ago today. Now, News 2's Adam Mintzer spoke to Riley's dad and cousin and joins us now from where Riley was last seen. Adam, what did his father tell you?
They told me that they actually spoke to the Tennessee Alcohol and Beverage Commission this morning. The commission asking them for more details about Riley, assigned to them that this investigation into whether he was overserved at Luke Bryan's bar is ongoing. You mentioned that statement from the bar. Let me read a little bit of it to you, giving us a new timeline of what happened at Luke Bryan's bar. It goes, during Riley's visit to Luke's 32 Bridge, our records show he purchased and was served 1 alcoholic drink and 2 waters. At 9:35 p.m., our security team made a decision based on our conduct standards to escort him from the venue through our Broadway exit at the front of our building. He was followed down the stairs with 1 member of his party. The individual with Riley did not exit and returned upstairs. Family told me that Riley was at that bar with about 8 to 10 of his friends. Now, Mark, this all started last Friday, a week from today, when Riley was in town for a fraternity event. As you were saying, Luke Bryan's bar was the last place he was seen. He told his friends after being escorted out that he was going to go back to the hotel. It appears he went the opposite direction. The friends didn't see him back at the hotel, so they called 911 about 16 hours later, around 1:45 on Saturday. And since then, the family has been not concentrating as much about what happened at Luke Bryan's bar, but where he was last seen, saying that that is what they want to know more about.
We're still concentrating on the final bridge that he never came out from under. That's what we're looking for is him. That's where we want the answers. Anything that happened up to that point, we'll deal with when we can.
That final bridge is where I am right now. This was the last place Riley Strain was seen on surveillance video and within the range of where his phone was last pinged. But as his father was saying, after he leaves this area, it's almost like he disappeared. So their call is for surveillance video or anyone that might have been here on First Street last Friday night between the hours of about 9:30 and 10:30 to contact police if they have any information. Mark?
And Adam, we've been talking so much for the past week now about the search for Riley. But today, of course, you talked to the father, you talked to his cousin as well. You learned more about who Riley is as a person. Share that with us as well.
Mark, his cousin and dad said that while so many right now might be having the impression that Riley was the kind of guy who would go out and party with his fraternity brothers frequently, that's actually not the case. That's really just a small part of who he is as a person. They say that he was a loving family guy, called his family 3 or 4 times a day, was talking to his mom at 7:30, making fun of her a little bit for going to bed so early on a Friday night, and was determined to be best friends with his little cousins, some of which are just 2 years old. Mark?
Adam, thank you so much. And News 2 will have continuing coverage as officials work to find Riley Strain. And you could see the video time.
I nearly started talking while I was on mute, but I caught myself just in time. The average river depth is 90 feet, but I don't think it's that going through Nashville. So Elizabeth says river is 25 feet deep. Is that through Nashville? Francis also says that. 25 feet. How far away is the Cumberland? The Cumberland River is right here. All right, we'll go back to Nashville. Okay. the Cumberland River is right here. This is the bridge. So the reporter was standing here. That's where the reporter was standing. Oops, let me just go the other way. See that bridge there? That's where the reporter was standing on this path here. So he went under this bridge, and his dad says he didn't come out from under this bridge, but probably just that he disappeared from around this area. And this was approximately where his last phone ping was. So if you look, fence, I bet he went under this bridge. And if you get under this bridge, you get to a point where there's no fence at all. No fence, nothing. You step off there thinking, oh, I'll just walk. I mean, look, in the night, see those bushes and you think it's a park or something. You know, and you just think, all right, well, I'll just go this way. I think I'm going in the right direction, although I don't really know. And I can't really understand my map because I'm drunk. It's just so sad. So sad. So sad. Right, I've got one more news clip, and then I want to show you the depressing statistics. So this is just the latest.
The search for the missing college.
This is the latest. At least when I started this live, this was the latest report on him. And it's his family saying, please just keep sharing his story, which is what I'm doing. Exactly what I'm doing. His last phone ping was there, yeah. So if you take this map, his last phone ping was here at 9:58, so it's just before this bridge. There's Woodland Street Bridge there. It's a bit faint, but that's where. So last phone ping is right there at 9:58. So 9:43 is caught on a surveillance walking down this street. 9:45, that's where he's going across that parking lot on Church Street and he falls. And then he crosses over First Street. And then his last phone ping is at Woodland Street. And then there's the last video of Riley here. Now, I don't know whether that's accurate or not. Because I thought the last video of him was this where he's crossing. I thought that was the last video of him. So I'm not sure about that. I mean, maybe they have got an additional piece of surveillance, which will mean that he's gone past there and then gone to that bridge. But yeah, phone ping in that precise area. Yeah, possible concussion, yeah. Probably got an almighty headache. Like disoriented, already disoriented. Stumbles down, hits his head, maybe, possibly. He's even more in a bad way. (9:58) ties in somewhat with what homeless witness said. Last ping was at Woodland Street Bridge. Yeah, it's here. That's Woodland Street. So, on the map, so you've got two bridges close together. You've got the Woodland Street Bridge, and then you've got this bridge. What's this bridge called? Whatever the bridge that is. But his phone pinged just before this bridge. So he's in this area. This general area. And then there's nothing. His phone's off. Nothing whatsoever. At all. So he's probably gone in the river just past this bridge. I would guesstimate just past this bridge. But if he really was seen on camera here, then obviously this bridge. But between here and here. And that surveillance video where he's crossing over, where he's trying to talk to people, is here. There. He stands there. So you've got the river right behind him. But we know he was fine after this. He walks off in this direction. If you remember, he's standing there. He walks off in this direction. So he's walking up here. There's a phone ping as he's coming up to this bridge area. And then maybe he crosses over that bridge. If there was a last video sighting of him here, then there's a fence there, like a higher fence. But then, oh yeah, you've got wire there, I think. Yeah, that's blocked off there. But up here, it isn't. There's no wire. That's just a little fence. And there's nothing. That's just trees. You could be mistaken. There's no fence there. You could be mistaken of thinking, this is just a little park. I can walk through this and get to my hotel. Presumably the fence has just fallen down and no one's replaced it. I don't know. That's just my guess. That's just my guess. Police also said they have footage of him running near the bridge. Yeah, he's running on Church Street before he falls, which is just down the road from here. Bowman said he only had one alcoholic drink and 2 glasses of plain cold water. How on earth was he so drunk? Because they'd been to another bar before they got there. And I bet you any money they'd been drinking before they got out, because that's what students do. You drink cheap alcohol so you don't have to buy as much in bars where it's expensive. That's student night out 101. Yeah, he could have just lost his balance, yeah. He could have just stumbled. He could just took a tumble. He could have just stumbled like he did in that parking lot. And he's down this embankment and he's in the river and he doesn't even know where he is or anything. He's gone. So if you look, it's fairly steep. Can't see exactly how steep it is. You probably could get down there. You know, if you were sober, holding on to stuff, you could get down there. You want to sit in the trees. But if you're drunk and you've stumbled, Occam's razor. They call it pre-gaming. Do they? They call it pre-gaming. Well, who'd have known? All right, this is the last thing I want to show you. Right. Body float information. So if anybody followed the Nicola Buller case, you will know that I preached to the point of I was, you know, it was just ad nauseum, like the amount of information. I was, you know, video after video after video after video talking about what happens to people when they're in a river, because a river is a moving body of water. So if you're in a lake, the likelihood is you're going to go down to the bottom and stay there for a period of time until your body is being eaten up by bacteria. That bacteria produces gas and it bloats your body. And then scientists can predict how long it will take your body to float. However, in a river, there's the additional element of the river is constantly moving. So it's not like if you fall in a lake, let's say you fall off a boat into a lake, they know you're not going to drift too far. You're gonna maybe drift a few meters, but you're not going to drift too far, and you're going to go down to the bottom. And if the lake's not too deep, then they might even be able to fish you out. I don't know. But usually they just wait for you to float back up to the top, because they know that you will float back up to the top as long as that lake isn't too deep. River, completely different animal, because what they also need to work on is how far a body might go before the floating happens. All right. So this is body float information. The information was compiled by members of John Sanders, Dr. John Whittington, and Mark Williams of the National Underwater Rescue Recovery Institute, and should only be used for estimating when a body should float. So this is all of the things, you know, taken into account. Like a river, you're going to be moving. You're going to be on the move. And if there's lots of debris, you might get stuck. So your body gets stuck. And then depending on the current, depending on a weather change, can shift that debris. A change in the water level can shift that debris. A change in your body composition can mean that you free yourself in a way and you start to float. So there's loads of things that happen in a river that don't happen in a lake. All right, but this is water temperature. Now, I find this fascinating. If you're in 80-degree water, you will float within 1 to 2 days because that's hot water. If you're in hot water, the bacterial decomposition speeds up because that bacteria is having a great time. It's having a great party inside your body. However, when the temperature of the water is only just above freezing point, so 40 degrees Fahrenheit, it takes 14 to 20 days for your body to float. Why? Because it's so cold. So it slows down decomposition. Because the bacteria, like much bacteria, it just won't reproduce. So it will slow down your decomposition process. It will slow down the bloating process. And it will take you up to 3 weeks to float. How long did it take to find Nicola Bullett in the middle of winter in the UK? So the water temperature probably was about 40 degrees. And wasn't it 23 days? So wasn't it 27th of, yeah, 23 days. Okay, now she might have been floating for, you know, a day and no one saw her, but, or she might have been like just under the water, like in debris, and then floated. So I would imagine that the temperature of the river in Nashville is going to be more to the cold end than to the warm end. It's not going to be 90, 80 degrees, is it? I mean, I don't know, but I would imagine it's maybe 50 degrees, 40 to 50 degrees, maybe. EquiSearch is doing a drone search for Sebastian Rogers in Hendersonville. I heard that, yes. Yes. Adventures with Purpose only look for vehicles. They don't do diving for, you know, people unless they're in a vehicle. I don't know which bar they were in beforehand. I think that information has come out. I just can't remember. Okay, apparently today, water temperature of the Cumberland River in Nashville is 52.3 degrees. Okay, so that's good to know. So let's assume that the water temperature has been roughly the same. Obviously, it'll drop a little bit at night. So let's say 50 degrees. So the body will float within 10 to 14 days. So unless the body is caught in debris under the water, in which case it's not going to have that opportunity to float until that body frees itself in whatever way. Now, there might be an environmental push for that body, like a storm, increasing water level, even increasing wind can have an effect if the body's like under the water, but in like bushes. So that body, as long as it's not trapped, is going to float soon. But there's a lot of caveats. So victims that have drowned in 30 to 40 degree water will not surface until the water warms, because that's below freezing. So bacteria is zero. Bacteria goes into like a suspended animation in freezing temperatures. So you're going to have minimal decomposition, and that body is not going to float. Victims that are 100 feet or deeper may not surface at all due to the combination of pressure and temperature. So we're not in that scenario. We're not in the scenario of 30 to 40 degrees. We're not in the scenario of it being more than 100 feet. So 10 to 14 days. So if you live downstream, if you live near the Cumberland River, downstream of the Woodland Bridge, and that can be, you know, for miles, if you have access to the Cumberland River, don't put yourself in any danger, but just go for a walk near the river and keep your eyes peeled, even if you're 10 miles downstream, because this body is going to float. All right, variables, additional variables. When and what food was last consumed? Foods high in carbs, beer, soft drinks, hot dogs, and potato chips produce gases faster. So maybe you're looking more on the 10 days than the 14 days. Medications, drugs, and alcohol. Body composition. Skinny, muscular, obese, fat, float quicker. Now, Riley is tall, but he's only 160 to 165 pounds. So he's skinny, not a lot of body fat on him. So maybe these two things are going to cancel each other out now. Like the carbohydrates that he's consumed in the alcohol and his low body fat, maybe they're going to cancel each other out. Age, weight, and height of victim. Okay. Where is it not? Hold on a minute. Where's page 2? By the way, I got this from SF Investigates, posted this on Twitter. Okay. Right. Where's 8 to 1, 2, 3, 4? I'm missing a bit. Then he's only posted 3 pages. we've got 5, 6, and 7 that we're going to have to just guess. I just have to guess. But gases produced in the intestinal tract are methane, hydrogen sulfide. Isn't that what makes your fart smell? And carbon dioxide. These gases are soluble in water and compressible. Any visible body wounds previous after drowning, type of water, river, quarry, lake, pond. So these must be questions that you need to ask yourself. Bottom temperature, currents, spring-fed, stagnant, polluted water present different problems for determining bacteria in the intestinal tract. Pressure exerted holding the victim down varies with depth of water. Any debris, stumps, trees, fence, fishing lines that could cause entanglement, watersheds, and most state parks are flooded farmland. So there's going to be loads of debris. Now, in the Cumberland River, does it have a lot of debris? Do people throw things in the river? I mean, it's traveling through a busy city. I bet people chuck stuff in that river. You know, there's going to be debris. Adult men and women on the bottom weigh about 6 to 15 pounds. What? Adult men and women on the bottom weigh 6 to 15 pounds. Negative. Children weigh less and may not sink unless intentionally weighted. Some kids will float face up. So child victims don't always even float unless they're weighted, like Audrey was. Victims who are dead before they enter the water will not sink and float. Yeah, because if you've been dead quite a while and your body's already started that bloating phase, you'll not sink at all. You'll just float unless you waited. We had a victim travel 175 miles in 3 days who was thrown in the river from a motorcycle accident. Jeez. Now, if you go in alive, right, once there's no water in your lungs, you are going to sink. You are going to sink. But it doesn't mean to say that you're going to just go to the bottom and stay there. The current will pull you along, or push you along rather, but under the water. And you'll come to a stop if you get into like the silt or debris, rubbish, crap, roots, you're tangled in a fishing net. All of that stuff is going to hold you in place. But unless you're more than 100 feet down, which is not the case here, and there's no major entanglement, then he's going to float. That body is going to float. And I know it's horrible. I know it's macabre. However, that's the situation. That's the truth of the matter, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's a long river, 688 miles. It joins the Ohio River and then it joins the Mississippi briefly. May skip supper tonight, yeah. I mean, I find this stuff fascinating. I really do. But I can understand why people, like Riley's family are in right now, they hold out hope for as long as they can that he might be alive somewhere. Like Nicola Bully's family did. They held out hope that she was alive. And it's very, very difficult to accept that somebody may have fallen into a river due to a silly stumble at the wrong time. And check how deep it is. Oh, you just said how deep it is, 25 feet. Yeah, name of the bar, Luke's 22 Bridge. 32 Bridge. So the bar. So yeah, so unless his body is entangled deep under the water, he's going to be floating anytime. Within the next few days, he's going to be floating. So if you live, right, let's get the map up. If you live downstream of this place here, this area, and even if you live 20 miles downstream, if you've got access to the river, you don't need to go in the river, just walk along the banks if you can. Just take a walk. It's good for you. And just keep your eyes peeled. You know what he was wearing, so just keep your eyes peeled. Because there's that light front on his shirt. Now, obviously, it's been in water for, it's going to be discoloured, but just keep your eyes peeled. If you live near this river, anywhere along this river. Because he could have easily gone 20 miles. Without obstructions. What's that thing? Oh, it's a bridge. It's one of those fancy bridges that moves. Oh, interesting. See, the more obstructions there is, the more chance is that the body's is going to wash up, something like that. Because it's going to be on this side. It's going to be on this side. Unless, for whatever reason, the current's taking him. Once you go around a bend. Like, if you live near a bend, these are perfect places where a body is going to end up potentially hitting the bank and getting stuck in the bank. So they wash up on the bank. So if I had to predict anything, I would imagine that in the next few days, you're going to see a lot more activity of searchers searching this river, searching the banks of this river, because it'll be easier to see. It's easier to see somebody once they're in that floating phase than when they're in that heavy phase where they're, you know, the in the depths. Is there a towpath to walk along the river like we're at? 688 miles long. I'm sure that there are towpaths at some points, but I don't know. I don't think in the city, no, because the banks are steep. So, you know, I've got a lot of people who follow me in Tennessee because of the Summer Wells case, but most of you are in the northeast of Tennessee. This is Nashville. But if you downstream of this river, if you downstream of Nashville in the next few days, and you are able to take a walk down by the river, because it may well be a member of the public that finds him. Like in the Nicola Bully case, it was a member of the public. So as many eyes as possible on this river will mean that this case can, you know, reach a resolution, and his family at least can have that answer as to what happened to their son. Yeah, there's rumours about a homeless person wearing his shirt, but it's unconfirmed. May have been stabbed. Well, no one was following him. Now, it's perfectly possible that he's got to the Woodland Bridge and had an altercation with somebody, and they've stabbed him and pushed him in the river. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's possible. But it's just as likely that he stumbled and fell. I'm not ruling out foul play here. I'm not. I'm saying he's in the river. How he got in the river, I could only speculate. I can only speculate. But what I don't believe is that he was bungled into a car and taken away and he's in someone's house. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Occam's razor is in that river. Whether he fell in, whether he was pushed in, or whether he had an altercation, someone tried to rob him, pushed him, and he fell in the river. Whatever, I don't know. I can't say. I wasn't there. We can only look at the surveillance and say, well, no one followed him from the bar. It's not like someone had ill intention and followed him from that bar, because in all that surveillance, he was on his own. So if there was an altercation, then it had to be when he was around that bridge area, because that's where his phone pinged. You know, somebody might have tried to, because he had his phone in his hand. On that last piece of surveillance that we've seen, he had his phone in his hand. I bet you any money he had his maps on his phone. And somebody might have seen his phone and grabbed his phone. And maybe he's, you know, he's gone to get his phone back and they've pushed him. That could be absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. But he's 6'7", so it had to be a pretty brave person to, you know, to approach him with the intention of nicking his phone. Unless they had a knife or even a gun. But I don't know that you'd shoot somebody for a phone. But then again, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. He had a nice phone. He had an iPhone 15. So it's worth a few bob. That's true. He may have needed to pee. Absolutely. It could be something that simple. Oh, and you've retracted your message. But I saw it. But yeah, absolutely. He could have stepped into those bushes because he needed to pee. And he's fallen. He's not realised that that embankment was steep. He's fallen and he's in the river. More than one person could have accosted him, yeah. Yeah. But unless there's signs on the body, we'll never know the answer to that. Because if that wasn't caught on CCTV, you know, if that bridge is just a blind spot and no one was passing by and no one saw it, unless there's signs on that body, then there is no way in the world that this will ever be considered a crime. It will be considered an accidental drowning, unless there's signs on the body that there was some kind of foul play. Now, bear in mind that if this this information about body floating, if that bores out in this case and he floats, you know, temperature's about 50 degrees and he floats in the next few days, then that body is not going to be that decomposed. Like on the inside, it's not going to be that much decomposition. So if he was stabbed, they'll be able to tell. If he was shot, they'll be able to tell. They may even be able to see signs of, I mean, if you fall in the river, you're probably going to be dead within a minute. So bruising, probably not, won't have time to develop. So it would have to be a stab or a shoot. But I honestly, I think he stumbled and fell in simply because near this bridge, where am I? Lost my spot now. Down here, isn't it? Oh, I've lost my spot. I lost my spot. There it is. Okay, so this area here, where there's no fence. So that there's that little tiny fence that doesn't look like it's got wire. And then you've got zero fence all the way up to here. You've got this wire. Where does that wire start? So you've got this little area, unfortunately, where there's no wire. The wire looks like it starts there. So you're not going to be able to fall in unless you purposefully climb over there. But here, there's no wire. There's nothing. And here, so just before this bridge and just after this bridge, you've just got this little fence that you might lean on and tipple over in a drunken stupor. Still on the floor info. Thank you. All right, we'll do that again. So this area, right here, you've got wire. Wire starts there. And then along here, you've nothing. There's no fence. There's no wire that I can see until you get to here. And then there's a fence again. But it's just a little tiny fence. You can see the map now, just like, give it a second. So if you leant on this fence, fell over, and here, he could have just stepped off to go behind a bush to have a pee, not realised, it's dark, he's not realised that that's a steep embankment. He doesn't know this city. So it's just that location where there's no fence. Nothing. There's no fence there either. So just before this bridge and just after this bridge, there's zero fences. 0 fences. And then here you've got a wall, which you could sit on and fall backwards. But I think he made it past this because his phone pinged. His phone pinged in this area just before this bridge at 9:58. So given the state, oh, I've gone on the bridge. Given the state he was in just a few minutes before, just 10 minutes before his phone pinged, he was falling in a parking lot. He's 22, anti-re. What year is this map showing? 2020. Visual image. 2023. I can't see the month. But I'm not sure. Hold on. Let me screenshot it and then I can see it. Can blow it up. Oh, it just says imagery 2024. It doesn't give me an image date. Hold on, it might do. Going down to the street level might give me one. Here we go. All right, December 2022. So this is what it looked like in December 2022. So it could well be that they've put a fence up. If there's a fence there now, good. But is it a small fence like this? Your slightly safer fence. Why is it not letting me move? Your safer fence. Whoa. Why is it not letting me go under the bridge, you weirdo? So these little walls, yeah, you're not going to probably stumble over a wall. Might do, but unlikely. And then this chain stuff that they have, I've gone too far now. This chain stuff that they have, like chain link fence, that's probably the safest because you're not going to stumble. Why does it not let me move forward under this bridge? What? Oh, I know why. Because they've knitted two things together. They've knitted two scenes together. That's why. So this chain link fence is probably safer because you're not going to sit on it. Like you can sit on a wall and then fall backwards, or you can sit on a little fence and fall backwards. But chain link, you're probably not going to sit on it. So I think that's probably safer near a river. But that's only in small sections. So you have to pay the troll toll to go under the bridge. Do I have the article from Fox 17? There's more info on it, dated March 17th. Okay, I did see, actually, I did see that. Here. So this is from 3 hours ago. Kelly Avellino interviewed a man who may have been the last to encounter Riley on his path down Gay Street. We looked back up. He almost fell over. The last bush right there caught him. He was very, very intoxicated. Never seen anybody stumble that hard before. Read more here. All right. What are you making me do now? Submit preferences. Close. Yes, I consent for you to use my data. Do whatever you want with it. All right, so this is the Fox 17 news article. So this came out a few hours ago. All right. During day 8 of the search for missing University of Missouri student Riley Strain, Nashville's Office of Emergency Management used a dive team Saturday for the first time in their water searches for the trace of the 22-year-old. Nothing conclusive was located in Cumberland River, according to a spokesperson for Nashville. Today's search plan included taking each boat out along a specified area near the riverfront where the missing student was last seen and running each search canine on the boat individually. Interesting. Based on indicators from each canine, sonar was used to isolate an area to a more specified area where divers could search more extensively. Nothing conclusive was located and the search was terminated at 2:30. Now, if there's any sewage pipes going into that river in Nashville, that's going to really confuse the dogs. Anyway, please tell Fox 17 News that foul play is not suspected at this point. Strain was last seen just over a week ago after being asked to leave Luke Bryan's bar downtown for being intoxicated. The 6'7" finance major at Mizzou left Luke's 22 Bridge on Broadway just after 9:30, getting escorted out for intoxication. Unfortunately, he walked in the opposite direction of his hotel, about 5 blocks the other way. His friends had not immediately left the bar with him. Strain was in town with his fraternity brothers, so we know this. Surveillance video shows him heading up 3rd Avenue alone. So this is where he's kind of walking along holding his head, I think. He can be seen crashing into a pole off Church Street and then stumbling onto Gay Street near the river, holding his head in some of the footage. Surveillance video last captures him on Gay Street near the James Robertson Bridge, according to Metro Police. However, investigators have not released that specific video. So that is here. Okay. So he went further up. So he was further up. That's good to know. So his phone last pinged here just before the Woodland Street Bridge. And then there's a video of him here at Robertson Bridge. Okay, this is good. All right, let's get the map back up then. So is this the Robertson Bridge? Guessing that's the Robertson Bridge. So near here. All right, so what if you went under here? Yeah, you've just got a little fence there, and then the wall starts. So if you made it under this bridge, then you've got this wall. Now, are you going to sit on the wall, try to sober up, holding your head, and you fall in? Maybe. Okay. Okay, that's the wrong article. Where's my Fox one? There it is. Oh, now what you wanting me to do? Go away. So, straight on Gay Street, near the James Robertson Bridge. I wonder whether that sees him falling. And that's why they've not released it. Wonder where the camera might be. Because it doesn't say he went under this bridge. It said near this bridge. So it could even be in this area where there's no... Where's the camera? Is the camera on the bridge? Wonder where the camera is. Don't know. So that's good to know. But it's interesting that they've not released that to the public. It's very interesting. Okay. Fox 17 News spoke exclusively on camera to one of the last people who potentially saw Strain before his trail stops in that exact area. The man who is part of Nashville's homeless community spoke for the first time on seeing Strain's walk his last known path sometime around 10 p.m. So last phone ping 9:58, just before the Woodland Bridge. We heard a commotion, said the man, who asked not to be identified. He lives near the river with his wife, down an embankment from Gay Street. All right, so that embankment obviously is walkable because there's people living down there. We look back up. He almost fell over. The last bush right there caught him. He was very, very intoxicated. I've never seen anybody stumble that hard before. He said he didn't head closer to the street to check on Strain since someone else was already there. Someone else was already there. So who's that someone else? I yelled up. They said, he's just drunk. He's okay. The man said he reported the entire encounter to detectives and Strain's family. He said Strain continued in the same direction up First Avenue. However, that's where his trail stops. No other footage or cell phone activity go beyond that point. So it's 9:58. Other security footage just a block up from the Justice A.A. Birch building doesn't appear to show Strain pass by, according to his family. So that's where he's gone in. That's where he's gone in. Now, there's someone else there. So did that someone else walk off? Was that someone else in the process of robbing him when he fell? Don't know. Strange relatives, including both his biological parents, have been in town since the first day of the search. They tell Fox 17 they're now focusing on tracking down anyone who was in Strain's last known area by the bridge, whether they were walking, on a scooter, taking a rideshare or driving by. So this is a different number. Metro Police 615-742-7463. The number that they've been sharing, though, is the one that's scrolling. 615-862-8600. But ring either number. Meanwhile, the Nashville community continues to scour near the river daily for any clues, walking along First Avenue and Gay Street. Number of searches have been from Missouri. Katie Trumbulley shares Strain's hometown of Springfield. She moved to Murfreesboro just a year ago. It's been on our minds the whole time. So that's the stuff about. That's very interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, according to this guy, somebody else said, "Oh, he's okay. He's just drunk." So was that person in the process of robbing him, or is that person an innocent passerby who saw him and thought, "Oh, he's just drunk. Oh, it's okay. He's just drunk," and walked off? Has that person been located? That person needs to come forward and say what they saw. Did they see the footage where two police cars are passing by after just 10 seconds, someone running in a park? No, I didn't see that footage. But someone running in the park, I mean, that's not going to be unusual, is it? So, however he got in that river, I believe he's in that river. Did he fall or was he pushed is the question. That's the question. So let's wait and see, because in the next few days, unless he's entangled somewhere underwater, that body is going to float to the surface. So, yeah, that's up to date. It's up to date on this case. Police cars passed by at 9:54 on dashcam. I think there was footage of them seeing someone run past. Looked like Riley, but couldn't be 100%. So at 9:54, we know he was alive and well because his phone pinged. And it was shortly after he'd crossed over on that crossing. Yeah, I think he's dead. I think he's deceased, sadly. And I think he's in the river. But did he fall or was he pushed? We may never know the answer to that. We may never know the answer to that. Unless other witnesses come forward. If other witnesses come forward and say, yeah, I saw him having an altercation with someone. Now, this homeless chap said that there was a commotion. So if you just stumble into a bush, you don't create a commotion, do you, when you're drunk? You just might groan a bit and get back up and carry on. What's the commotion? Was the commotion someone trying to rob him? And then was there a fight or a scuffle and he fell? If so, there is someone else involved and that person needs to be found. If that person is completely innocent and yes, saw him, they've maybe already come forward to the police and said, yeah, I saw him on Gay Street and yeah, he looked very drunk and I passed him and he looked very drunk. He was stumbling all over the place. But once the body surfaces, and I believe it will, unless there are signs on that body, it will be ruled an accidental drowning. It will. Yeah, he may have dropped his phone. It may be that whatever person that was who shouted down, oh, he's okay, he's just drunk, was just someone passing by on the way home and they've gone to the police and that's that. The river is deep, apparently. The river's 25 feet, apparently. He was too drunk to fight. Probably. Yeah, probably. Probably. I mean, maybe someone saw him stumble and picked him up and he was like going, like drunk people do. And he was like, it's all right, mate. It's all right, mate. I'm just standing you up and, you know, kind of walked off. And that was the commotion that this guy heard. And then, unfortunately, Riley stumbled again and fell. We may never know. We may have to accept that we never know the answer. So... all right, guys, that's all I wanted to talk about. Tomorrow, if you're following the Delphi case, tomorrow is D-Day for the, oh dear, what's that going to bring? The contempt hearing tomorrow, 9 a.m. Indiana time, so that's 2 p.m. my time. However, there's no cameras in the court. There is not even going to be anybody live tweeting. The reporters are not even allowed to take their phones into the courthouse. So we're not going to hear a word of what goes on in that courtroom until that hearing is over and people get a chance to, you know, do their reports. So tomorrow is going to be a very interesting one for the Delphi case. So I may well be live tomorrow night my time, which will be tomorrow afternoon you guys' time, if something untoward, shall we say, happens in the Delphi case. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Let's hope that Riley is found soon so that his family can get those answers that they desperately need. Thank you for the donations. Defence Diaries will tweet as often as possible. Yeah, they're not allowed to take the phones into the courtroom, though. So he'll have to wait for a break and then run out of the courthouse to be able to tweet. Because Frances will just destroy a phone if she sees it. If she sees a phone, she'll just destroy it. Just put it in her cauldron and mix it up with the next spell. Yeah, wants it to be top secret. All right, guys, thanks for donations. Thanks, as always, to the mods. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye, folks.